Hello everybody, and welcome to our Leadership Briefing. It's a series of webinars introducing you as digital professionals to ideas, tools, and techniques that help you strategize and execute better. My name is Theo Paraskevopoulos, and I am Chief Executive at Growcreate. We're an Umbraco Platinum partner and pioneers in the use of AI in digital experience. In this webinar, we will discuss the use of AI inside Umbraco, which is an open source content platform. How can you, as a technical leader, bring AI into your Umbraco system safely and effectively? Now, Growcreate has developed an AI Toolkit for Umbraco, a tool that helps content editors work smarter by using AI to create and enrich content right inside the content platform. We've made it practical and easy to use for editors so they can do their work efficiently, but also for developers to integrate into the solutions quickly. Later in the briefing, we will explore how AI can simplify your content workflows, and then we'll also show you a live demo of our AI toolkit for Umbraco. But first, how does the open source community and Umbraco itself think about AI? Lucky for us, the annual Umbraco conference, Codegarden, took place last week, and a number of my colleagues attended, and two of them have joined me here today to report back. Welcome, Jeroen. Welcome, James. Jeroen is Growcreate CTO, and James is our senior developer, also the man behind the AI Toolkit. Hello, guys. I heard that you had a wonderful time in Denmark.
We did.
You've all recovered, I hope. To start us off, Jeroen, tell us, what is your overall impression from Codegarden? Give us your highlights, your standout talks, or any other memorable moments.
As always, being a community is a really USP for the Umbraco system itself. You see the whole community is growing, and the company as well. So currently there are, I think, 150 people, and I still know it back in the days when Rune was working with Niels. So I talked with Rune when he was the third employee, and now when he's one of 150 as well. So that was nice to see, and you see that they are accelerating much faster with the product development as well, in terms of an orchestration framework, and as well as with AI, moving now towards techniques like MCP. So yeah, that was good to see, and fun always to be there.
Very good. James, do you want to give us your highlights as well? I heard you had a well over time.
I had such a great time. There was many old faces from my last one, which was 8 years ago. So a long time for myself to return. But of course, being a developer, I took a keen interest in the other minds of the community, how they're approaching their project development within Umbraco, and how other people are using AI as well. So there was some great talks in there about the environmental impact, asking important questions about the carbon emissions and the power draw of using AI. You've of course got your power draw into building your LLM models, and if you're using it on device, your device wattage is going to go up through the roof sometimes. So the hardware side was very insightful. And then there was some other great talks around just other general working with Umbraco. So one of the awesome things that I'm interested in is the future of Examine, the search provider that is out of the box with Umbraco, with faceting coming out of the box in the next version, and some really good community tools to create suggestion-based searches that can improve the user experience there. So that was all awesome to read, and there were so many others that I could talk about, but I'll take up the whole 30 minutes we've got.
Fantastic. So Jeroen, back to you. What would you say were the main talking points from the community this time? What were people kind of mostly talking about?
Yeah, I was surprised myself that while it's so growing, the Umbraco itself, that it still feels much like a community, and that is the real USP is in there. As James already mentioned, there was that search providers, these become more and more flexible, and they introduced a new product, the Umbraco orchestration framework, which seems to be a right fit for, let's call it, content governance. So not basically data governance, but connecting content pieces with each other. So I was very surprised to see how they propositioned that to the market. Really happy that they focus on being a content delivery man in the middle and not being this guy who does everything, because that can be done with other products as well. And then, of course, this AI buzz is something that you see on every conference. What you see was that they tried to do that a little different than competitors. So, for example, James, what James already said was the thing about the carbon footprint. There was a whole presentation about it. How AI does affect that, for example. But also that the integrations that they're currently creating around Umbraco are really do fit in a best of breed approach, where they really rely a lot on this MCP protocol, which is some kind of a protocol that where AI bits can talk with each other. They really challenge the community, come up with new ideas, and that goes beyond content generation. What you see in a lot of conferences or CMS conferences, a lot of AI is now based on, oh, look at this, this GPT model can create some content for me, or this can create a picture. But what I like to call agentifying it, so the new Clippy, we already can remember from back in the days on Word, is
Let's
now
not talk
going
about
to
Clippy.
is now going to be a thing that the community really needs to think about a step further. What can you create with AI to make the content editor's day much easier, or maybe the developer day that you can develop faster? Also, in terms of maintenance, that can be done maybe automatically, or security checking that can be agentified. So there are a lot of chances there, and because they really focus on these MCP protocol to connect their API with, that gives the sky is the limit. So that was really good to see. And one of the metaphors I really liked was one of the presentations that Per did previously, an owner from Umbraco now working for Docker. He told us AI is just in its puberty. Everyone is currently trying, failing, and enthusiastic, but the real thing is going to be happen, and don't be afraid of it. It's like punk rock music, which everyone can do now. But back in the days of Mozart and Beethoven, it was much harder to create music, and now we are in this punk rock area of AI. And that was a really fun insight that I liked to share. So that sums up a bit.
Very interesting that. And talking about composers, and let's go to the Mozart of AI. And this is what we will call James from now on, by the way. So let's go straight into the AI Toolkit. So as many of you will know, Growcreate has introduced the AI Toolkit and Umbraco plugin. And we would like to take the opportunity today to show you around. James, would you like to share your screen and take us through the toolkit?
Of course I would. Let's hope that this shares properly.
Okay, a second. There we go.
Awesome. So yeah, as Theo said, this is a package for Umbraco 13. We released it at the start of last week, tying in with Codegarden and getting the right messaging across, seeing what the community want from AI, how they're using it currently, and how we position ourselves with this package in that framework. We also, and we'll come to it shortly after, got some really good feedback of future ideas to add into this. But let's start off with the new section in the back office. So we've started off with a dashboard, simple numbers, so it will show you some counts as to how many tones you've set up across your solution, how many contexts you've set on certain pages, and how many, I'll say, nice images you've generated. Now, if I go to the next tab, we have our tones. In here, we have a global tone management field. This is where you'd set your corporate tone typically for your entire company within your installation of Umbraco. Of course, I've just set it up very demonstratively in terms of we just have 3 bullet points, but what you'd be able to do is say, this is the company we are, this is what we are about, this is our goals, this is, and then also define this is what we're not. So then you're helping the model, when it receives its prompts, know this is the tone that I do want. I don't want to talk about playful stuff. I want to keep it serious. So that's why I've gone for this tone here. And then we also have this section at the bottom for note tones. Now, this is where it will let you know what sections of the site you've given additional tonage to. So we've got in this demo, site 1 that has an additional tone of being progressive and forward thinking, but we also have a second site in this installation that's a bit more cheeky and sarcastic, and let's see what it generates with that when the time comes. Maybe it'll be a bit too playful, maybe we'll have half a page of emojis. And if I go over to the context, this is something that is to be expanded, I think, but in the context, you're able to give additional subtext to this is what the actual page is about. But we do know that maybe the next step with this is for actually having the model receive the whole page and say, this is the page. So it gets that context a bit easier than having to type it out. In both of these, if you do need to adjust things, of course, you're able to go and edit that node. So if I go back to the tones and edit node, we now have it pop up and I can jump over to the Toolkit content app and adjust my settings. And finally, and I won't click into it, but there is a settings tab which just lets you know what the current setup of your Umbraco installation is with this package, what models you're using within the AI Foundry, and also what sections of this package are enabled. So the sections of the package that we have are generative content, we have auto-generated metadata, we have auto-generated alt texts, and then we have our tone of voice management. So let's move over to the content section and get started with some generative content. Now, the way that we position it with AI is we do see it being more of an assistive tool than a generative tool, but we don't want to disparage anyone who does want to generate content using AI. So that's where we have our new AI Toolkit content app, and you can set your node tone, which of course we've gone through from the section, and that additional context. Now, if I go to a generative tab, which I've set up for the sake of this demo, you're able to define which fields you have that are able to generate content, whether that's a text box, text area, custom plugin for the TinyMCE rich text editor, or a generative image. Now, for the sake of time, I will be skipping generating an image, as using the DALL-E model in version 3, it can take a bit of time. It can take between, we'll say 10 to 20 seconds. It depends on the length of your prompt. But let's go and generate a heading. Now, you'll notice, of course, I'm in US, so that's going to give the additional context to the prompts that we send to the model to say, this is the culture that we want to write it in. And shortly I will come to the multicultural side. So I go over to my other monitor and grab my prepared prompts. We have one for a heading here. Now, it's something for the editor to work with in terms of maturing their prompt and playing around with it. That's why we allow for the response here to be edited. But there are definitely things in the roadmap to improve how the prompts are built. If I go to generate, and there we have empowering content creation with our AI Toolkit. And if I submit that, go straight into the field. If I go back to look at our tone, so we were thinking of progressive and forward thinking and positive. We didn't want to be cheeky and sarcastic here. And I think it's met that. But if I continue on and grab my next prompt, we will go and get an introductory paragraph for this. So in this one, I'm defining how many characters I want and just making it clear, this is an introduction paragraph that I want you to write. And there we go. It's all very concise, to the point, and straight into the field. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more costly in terms of the time. I'm going to go and generate some HTML markup. Now, in this one, I will just slowly scroll throughout the prompt. It's a few HTML paragraphs, including headings. But I've also given it this additional notice of don't include identifiers for where the HTML starts and ends. That's just something from experience from working with this, as to we don't want extra bits like lines above and below. But then very quickly in the US language, so that's why we have the RTE moaning to me about behaviors and how it's spelt. I'm from the UK, it wants that U in there. But we have our headings using the RTE, so I can look, and that's using page header. We've just got normal. And if you define it, then you can also say use structured headings as well. That's all down to that prompt you build. And for the sake of the image, I'm going to leave that empty. Now, the next step with content, and it's a step that not many editors like. If you do, then hats off to you. But it's all around the SEO, the metadata, getting it high up in those rankings on those search engines. And we've got this tab here with just 4 basic fields. You need your title and description for both meta and for your open graph for your sharing. We have omitted meta keywords now. It's something a lot of solutions still do have, but keywords are now redundant in those rankings. And what I'm going to do now is, as I've got the auto-generated metadata enabled, I'm just going to save and publish. Now this happens on both the saving or the saving and publishing. So you can save it to see what the changes first before you publish. But from those few fields that I just generated in the other tab, we have titles, descriptions, and then the same for open graph all populated. Now you'll see you get a bit, I'd say playful, but it's an exclamation point, so it's not that playful, but it knows that it needs to keep the tone a bit more upbeat for the social fields at the bottom. And the way that these have been generated is using a prompt that we've gone and pretty much taken every single documentation about SEO that there is and perfect our prompts to fit in with those guidelines. But what it also has it is supporting factors as to looking into Google's new guidelines, seeing if there is anything updated and refreshing the prompts from that. So we've gone through generative, we've gone through metadata, and what's next? Well, I'm going to jump into the media section. Now, we have a folder here that has been automatically generated when we produce an image with the names of our prompts that I've used and the actual image produced by the model we've chosen. Now, I'd say this is a fairly okay logo, but if I was going to use this on a page, then I'm going to have to go in and populate an alt text somewhere, and it depends on how you set up Umbraco as to do we use the name, do we add a new property? Well, if you go for the latter approach, the moment an image is saved in the back office of Umbraco now, if you have an alt text field populated and configured, then we'll go and generate it for you. So what we've done again is we've made a prompt that's very clear and concise as to this is how an alt text needs to be produced. So it's focusing on the primary center of the image. Now it's going to look and see what is in more focus. So say if this pencil up here was in more focus than the actual center, then it would focus more on the pencil. And then we've got our prompt that's generated from that. We know in this example, the prompt, the alt text is quite long. So what you're able to do in our settings in your app settings file is just set a character limit. We recommend 60 to 100 characters. That seems to be the recommendation from multiple sources as to the prime number. And then it will limit your alt text to about that range. And it doesn't just restrict this to images generated from the plugin itself. So I've gone and just uploaded a very serious businessman here from my machine, and instantly we have a professional individual dressed in a dark suit and a light blue striped tie. Now, one of the things that we did learn from Codegarden, and one of the things that we will be putting towards the roadmap, is the context of an alt tag on an image. Sometimes the alt text isn't required, sometimes it needs to be a bit different with how the image is used, and we'll be looking at that for future versions. Let's get back to another point that I mentioned before around the different cultures. So I'm going to go and open French in split view. I'm not going to pretend that I speak French fluently, but I can figure it out with Google Translate. Now, I'm going to go over to the generative tab and use the same prompts as before. to generate myself a heading. And instantly, because I've gone on the French side here, now it reads it from the culture of whichever version you're actively editing. I now have a French response, and I can do that the same for my other two prompts. So let's get the introduction paragraph, and let's get some wonderful HTML written in there as well. And let's see, it looks like the HTML is going to take slightly longer this time, but we actually have a slight difference here. So if I go to our generative tab, we have a larger heading at the top here than the others. And that is purely just down to the model at the time of generating will produce that output, and then that's why we just throw it into the rich text and allow the editor to change it around. Now, the next step is the meta. So, of course, we have this in a multicultural setup. We don't have our meta populated for French, but let's just go and save and publish. And you'll see, due to the fact that it's taking a little more time, we're now generating our metadata for the French version. Now, I can immediately notice here that we've had a slight misstep in the term that we've got title of page included at the front here. And that's why it's probably recommended that you just do a save first, double check your metadata, and then you publish afterwards. And the next thing, and the final thing for this demo I'll move to, is the generative side for a slightly different tone. So on site 2, from the beginning, we said that this is more cheeky, sarcastic, and irreverent. We don't want to be progressive and positive here. We're very different. And what I'm going to do is grab the exact same prompts, and let's see how different it is. Of course, in the context of a heading, it's not going to be too different. So it's a bit creative chaos. I like that. That's going to be my new name now instead. And let's just do one final one for the demo and get an introduction paragraph as well.
Very good.
And there we go. That's our toolkit.
Excellent. It's crazy to see. I mean, if this is a punk rock, 3 chords and you're off, it's crazy to see what the promise of the technology will be. Just to round things up, James, how can developers now install and customize the plugin? Where can they go and get it?
So the prime location would be from the Umbraco marketplace. So if you go to marketplace.umbraco.com, we will be there under the artificial intelligence section, and that can be pulled straight from there. Or you can go to NuGet itself and look for the Growcreate AI Toolkit, and we'll be on there for you to download and play around within your solution.
Okay, brilliant. Let me go back a little bit, zoom out a little bit, and go back into the architectural element and into how significant this is, and also what we're hoping to see next. Jeroen, from your side, what do you hope to see next, both in terms of AI and Umbraco? We mentioned a couple of areas, but where would we see the most impact from this technology?
Yeah, it's what I already thought. It's about creating the solutions for people and not only doing the gimmicks. For example, we do a lot of proactive maintenance, and within there you can what I call agentifying a lot. So of course you can do a lot of automatic continuous testing. We did see a nice demo of semantic testing where you can basically write down normal text and then it's tested against scores and stuff like that. Can be done on if you look especially to content platforms, that can of course be done on the content itself as well. Is the tone of voice overall the same? Is there a tone of voice score that you can create? So I think we have to look it into that perspective. And what you see from Umbraco is that they try to move towards a best of breed kind of landscape, where this MCP protocol is a very important part of, so that they basically serve the right APIs and stuff like that, and then you can connect it to a lot of pieces in the AI world. And you also see that some vendors are choosing more towards an integrated solution. What we also do with our own toolkit, for example, because sometimes you also want to have it integrated within your content editor experience to see where AI can there bringing some extra. So, for example, the metadata also is very powerful. Of course, that you don't have to think about it anymore. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that's very, yeah.
So obviously there is improvements to the editor experience, but also to the development side of things, the best of breed and the architecture. Yeah, this is incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
As we've got a couple of more minutes before we close, just a couple of questions to, and if you have any questions to the audience, please send them through. But some other questions just to round things up. James, question for you: what's in the roadmap for the toolkit? What can we hope to see next?
Yeah, so I gathered feedback from the community throughout Codegarden and also ideas that we had on our side well before. So some of those involve personalized journeys using a natural language search component, generative content in terms of block content as well, and having that trained on a knowledge base that's built up within, say, a SharePoint or another source and your web content, and bringing that all into one place so that basically we identify it. That agent knows this is how your language works, how your content works, and this is the knowledge base to generate content from. Many things as well, such as streamlining, that would probably be the better word, the translation workflow within Umbraco. So if you've done all of your site in English and want a French version, you can just do it at the click of a button and then go through and verify things before publishing. We want to probably expose the default prompts that we're using, so you're knowing what is being sent in that chat with the model, allowing you to use Umbraco properties in the prompt itself, so you can use replacements, bulk actions for the auto-generated properties for metadata and alt text, so you can just click one button and have all of your site or all of your media updated. Potentially schema generation as well for, say, articles and products and things like that. Maybe a place where you can save prompts that you've frequently used. That's something to be discussed. And then potentially even content analysis as well, checking your content structures across pages of the same document type in Umbraco, making sure that the look and feel of them are consistent as well.
Fantastic.
That and many more.
And many more. So there is so much to do. I mean, what I'm reading from all this is that there is an appetite both from the system world and from the general community, the drive, the appetite from everything, but there's also the technology that comes to support it. And the ideas that just seem to be fizzing around. And I'll go back and I'll send it to Jeroen's analogy about this being a punk moment where it's like almost anything is possible, right? And that is absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much, guys. That's what we've had time for today. Just to reiterate some key points over here. The AI Toolkit is available now in the Umbraco marketplace and as a NuGet package. There are 3 plans that we made available. The toolkit has. There's a community version, which is free, and you can install and download now and link it up to your own Azure account. The professional version, which is a fully managed service subscription, and it's free for our support clients. And there's an enterprise version, which is a bit more expensive, and it comes in with advanced features in terms of training the model onto your own proprietary corpus, content, and creating natural language search, bulk content generation, and a whole lot of other advanced things. Thank you for attending our digital leadership briefing. We hope that you gain an understanding of how AI fits inside Umbraco, inside the content platform, and how to introduce the technology safely and effectively. If you're interested in more information about the toolkit or you're interested in more advanced use cases with AI, please reach out to us directly. For now, Jeroen and James, many thanks for your insights and for the demo. And to you, to the audience, many thanks for joining me today. We hope to see you again on the next briefing. Goodbye for now.
All right.
Thank you, Will.